The first thing I want to cover today is how to add materials in Revit. Because right now, everything is gray. So I'm looking at this in what's called a shaded view, where it takes the base color value and it applies it here. This is just using a default material, so everything is gray. So let's fix that. So let's click this, and let's go to Edit in Place. Okay, once I'm here, if I select an object that we've modeled before, we can see right over here that it says material by category, right? So we want to tell it to be a very specific material. And this is true for any object in Revit. You click it and you should see a material tab right over here. So let's click this. And once you do that, a material browser will pop up. Okay. And we are going to make some custom materials. You could use something from here, but for Scratch, let's do our own. So let's click this. Right down here is how you create a new material. So I click that, create new material. Right here, I'm going to rename this to be a stone. Okay, so this can be like a marble or countertop. Okay, so now that we have that, we can kind of customize the way it looks. Okay, so if we want to appearance over here, this is where you'd be able to upload your own texture. So say you have a nice marble texture that you want to use, you could do that here. For this, I'm just going to make it a solid color. So I'm going to click this, RGB, and just lower that to be white. So this can represent a white countertop. Okay. And then I'll hit apply and okay. So if I click off, we'll notice nothing's changed. Okay. So what's very important for you to do is checkmark one more additional thing. I'm going to go back to the countertop, go to the stone material, and just hit that button there. Okay. So basically we've told Revit that we want it to be this white color, but we need to checkmark one more thing. And that's this guy under graphics, use render appearance. Let's checkmark that, and that will inherit the value of our appearance over here. Okay. So if it's not changing colors, make sure you have that on there. Now when I hit apply and okay, you'll see that this is white. Okay. So now that this is set up, I could just grab this piece of stone over here. So that's my backsplash. So I'm going to hit tab so that gets selected. And right over here, it says material by category. I click that three dot button and double click stone. Okay, that's made that white. Let's go over here, grab the backsplash, same procedure, and stone. Okay, so now we know this is working because this is white. There we go. It looks a little gray because of the shading, but it is white. Okay, that's white, that's white, that's white. Okay, you'll notice that this became stone up here, and the side became stone. We can fix that in just a moment. So let's take care of the other stuff like the wood cabinetry. I'm going to click this, and we're going to make sure we're doing the actual extrusion. So right there. Again, material by category. We're making a new material, right? So again, you could choose wood stained if you want, or you could just make a new one to create new material and rename that. We'll call that cabinet material. Okay. And this, let's pretend like it's a dark wood. So I'm going to grab the appearance tab, RGB, and let's pretend like it's a dark brown, something like that. Okay, that's done. And before we back out, we go to graphics and use render appearance and hit apply and okay. Okay, cool. So something I want to point out for the students that have some familiarity with Lumion, basically what happens is this brown will be picked up as one material and this white will be picked up as another material. So this is how we're setting different render channels in Revit for Lumion. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the other portions. I'm going to grab this over here, make sure I have solid geometry. Okay, so part of the issue is because this is all joined, it's not letting us just click the cabinetry. So I'm going to show you a little workaround. So let's click this, and we're going to set this to wood for now, or the cabinet. Okay. cabinet material. Okay, great. Okay. So this looks incorrect, right? So we're going to change the color of the face. So all we have to do is paint the face. So right here, I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click on my stone. Okay? And now I can actually apply it to a face. Okay, so all this is wood, and I can just apply a stone material here. Okay, and that I won't fix. And that basically the issue is if I click here, it'll make the whole thing that one material. So I need to create what's called a split region here. Okay, so right over here, I'm going to click this split face. Okay, click the top, and now we're just going to draw a little line and hit check mark. So it doesn't look like anything has happened, but when I go to paint and I grab my stone, look at that, it's now separated. So that's how you can split areas, okay? So if you have something that's the wrong material, you could just use that tool, take care of that. Again, I use paint and this split face tool. Okay, so now let's get an appliance in here. We need to get a range. So the issue is we've got cabinetry here and a countertop, and we need this appliance to literally slide in. So we're going to create an opening. So I'm going to click my extrusion here, and then I'm going to go to edit extrusion. So if we remember, basically we drew this shape and then we extruded up. So I'm actually going to remove a segment in here. So I want to have 2 feet of working space over here. I'm going to grab this and copy it. I'm using CO. You could also use this. Click there and move it over 2 feet. Now, ranges are typically 3 feet, anywhere between 30 inches and 36 inches. So let's make it 36. So I'm going to copy this line over 36, copy again, and 36. Okay. So the issue is if I hit the check mark here, it's going to say that lines are intersecting, and that's no good. We need to split this. Okay. So go over here to split element, click there, and click there. So this has made it 2 separate lines. That's one line, that's another line. So go in and start trimming. So TR for trim, and clean up these corners. Okay, now when I check mark, that has now been opened up. So the range can go in there, but we need to do the same thing with our countertop. Let's click the countertop, edit extrusion, and we're going to do kind of the same procedure, but a little differently. I already have the opening there, so I can use my pick lines tool. Let's grab pick lines, click this side and that side. So we have those lines, and now we need to split these lines right here. That way we can trim this. So let's grab split element, break it here, break it there, and trim, TR. Okay, that's been trimmed out, and now we have room for our stove and range to plug right in. Okay, that's looking good. So let's add in that component. Okay, so under create component, okay, create component, I'm going to add in a range. Let's go to load family, okay, and under special equipment, okay, I'm going to go to domestic, high end, mid range, doesn't matter. I'm going to do high end for this, and I am going to be looking for a range. Okay, so we've got 30, 36, 48, and 60. We have a 36-inch opening, so let's use this. Let's hit open, and it should load it in. I'm going to place it right here. Okay, so right now, this needs to move in there. So I'm just going to align it. I'm going to grab AL, click my back wall, right? So this thing right here. And I'm going to click right here. That way this piece gets tucked under the stone. I'm going to click there. That's plugged in. Great. So the issue is this is no longer aligned, so this isn't looking too good. So we need the range to slide to the right. I'm going to click the side of the cabinet and click the side of the range. Okay, so that's plugged in there. That's looking good. If you're wondering why this looks weird, we need to toggle the quality or detail level of our file. So if you click here, you'll see there's 3 different values. There's coarse, medium, and fine. And this is true for your floor plans, elevations, and 3D views. The reason this exists is for you to have easy control over the visibility of items. Like say you don't want a drawing to look too intimidating or cluttered, you could just put it on coarse and that will remove wall layers. Or say the file's slowing down and it's too heavy, you could switch to coarse and medium to boost performance. Fine will actually toggle in all those extra details that are triggered to be turned off for something lower than fine. Okay, so if something looks odd, just check your visibilities here. I usually work on medium just because it's better for performance, but again, using fine is totally okay here. All right, so that's looking good. We've got our range in there. We've got our stone there and there. Okay. All right. So the next thing we need to do is finish up the cabinetry panels over here. So if you remember, we added these panels in here and then we inset them. So let's do the same thing. So I'm just going to click this. If you remember, this extrusion is 1/2 inch. Okay, so I'm checking that by going right here. That's 1/2 inch. So we need to extrude out 1/2 inch and then we need to cut in 1/4 inch to create this panel look. Okay, so let's go to create. Let's go to extrusion and pick lines. Okay, I'm going to click this guy right here and you'll see that this is incorrect. I clicked over here and it shot the line over there. Okay, do you guys remember why this is happening? Okay, think about it for a second. If I'm clicking, all the lines are going over there. The answer is this guy, our work planes. Our work planes are off right now. So let me fix that. Let me undo all that. Okay, and I'm going to go to set the plane. Okay, and okay. Let's click right here. That way when I draw, remember this, it's drawing right on that cabinet. Okay, let's go pick lines. Let's grab just this line, that, the bottom here, side there, grab right there, bottom here, side of the cabinet, and let's do some splitting here. Okay, let's split that, and that should be okay. Now we're just going to go around and trim. We want to make sure we've got nice rectangles here and here. That way we have the panels. Okay, looking good. And let's change the extrusion to be 0.5. And check mark. Okay, so I've got an area here. Lines must be in closed loops. Okay, and you'll notice this area got circled. The reason it freaked out is because they're not connecting. So trim and trim. Okay, you need to have closed boundaries. And check mark. All right, good. So that is coming out 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch, sorry. Looking good. And now we need to create this little reveal around our panel. Okay. So now let's go back to create. Let's go to void forms, extrusion. Now we're going to do something very similar. We're going to pick lines. Okay. Click all the sides of your panels again. Okay. And make sure everything is split and trimmed. So this line, it's one line spanning this rectangle and this rectangle. We need to break that. So I split that with the split element tool. And I'm going to trim. Okay. All right. So we've got that. Now we need to offset in 1/16 inch. That way we get a little bit of a reveal between the panel and the cabinet carcass. So let's grab pick lines again. And let's do an offset of 1/16. Okay. All right, let's zoom in so we know which direction it's going in. This is going inward. Perfect. Same thing there. Same thing there. Okay. Paying attention to the direction, always facing in. And now trim anything that is improper like this. So trim and trim. check all the corners. Okay, trim, and trim. Okay. I'm going to hit check mark, and we'll take a look at that. Okay. All right. So we could see here that it's actually trimmed the wrong direction, right? So it's actually trimmed into our cabinet here. Okay. So to fix that, let's click this. Okay. And let's go back to edit extrusion. Okay. This is the right one. We actually need to go the other way. Okay. So I'm going to set this to 0, and this might change depending on what you clicked as your work plane. I'm going to set that to 0 and set this to 1/2 inch. Now let's do check mark. Okay. And if that didn't do anything, let's go back. Okay, let's undo that. Okay. And I'm going to type in -1/2, set this to 0, and then check mark. Good. All right. So it's all about the direction. So I originally selected the front of the carcass as the work face, and that's why I had to set it to be negative so it would go this way to come towards us instead of go positive. Okay, so if you missed that, this is the value. The extrusion end was 0. The extrusion start was 1/2 inch. Okay, so that's cutting. All right, our panel is looking a little discolored here, right? So let's make sure we change that. I'm making sure I'm hovering on extrusion, and we need to change the material. I can go right over here. Okay, click this, and I'm going to search for my cabinet material, and that's changed. Okay, so that's looking good. Okay. All right, so now we need to add an inset to this panel, right? So this inset that I'm talking about, it's this right here. Because right now we have this here and we don't have that on our other panels. So let's take care of that. We're going to need one more void extrusion. Let's go to create, void forms, void extrusion. Okay, so for this, let's go to pick lines. And our offset is going to be 1/4 inch. I believe that's what we used as a frame last time. Okay. And I'm just going to click the outer edge here. Actually, does that look right? That does not look right. So let's quit sketching and let's do a quick check. So I'm going to swing over to my elevation and I'm just going to grab a distance tool. Okay. That was 1/2 inch. Okay. So these are handy. So let's go back to 3D. Okay. If you want, you can be working on this in an elevation view, interior elevation view, kind of like what I was doing here. So to set that up, just gonna hit finish model for a second. I'm gonna click this guy and check mark that. That way we get this elevation B. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, there's no detail here. Let's take care of that. I go to architecture. Sorry, gonna click this, edit in place, void forms, void extrusion, and it's asking for a plane. I'm just going to click the front of our panel here, right there. Perfect. And pick lines. 1/2 inch. Yeah. So how this works is whatever you click, it'll offset off of that. So I'm going to click there, click there, click there, click there, and same thing over here. Okay. So our panel was a 1/2 inch thick, so I can't have my extrusion end be 1/2 inch thick too. I need to make it 1/4 because then it would just cut all the way through the panel. Okay. So check mark and swing over to 3D. There we go. Okay, so that's looking great. Okay, so we've got that everywhere. All right, perfect. So our kitchen is missing one more thing, and that is hardware. Okay, so actual handles that are going to open up these panels, right? So last week I talked about having some hardware, or you could just have a finger pull. I want to show you how to add in some hardware. Okay? If you already have, let's say, a handle that you like, you can actually load it in with a component, right? If we don't have one, like this situation, we can make one from scratch. So let's go to File. We're going to go to New and Family. Okay, so File, New, Family. Okay, now it's looking for a template file. We're just going to use generic. Okay, so click generic model and hit OK. All right. So this is the family editor. We're basically going to make our own custom type of hardware here. Okay, so let me show you an example of kitchen handles. Okay, here we go. So you could do something like this, like an actual bar. You could do a cylinder here, or you could do one of these. I'm going to do one of these. That way I could show you some of the tools that we can use to create shapes like this. So let's just make that bigger. Okay, great. So it's basically a circle at the end, and it looks like an angle. Okay, and this is anywhere between 3 to 6 inches long, as we could see here. So we're probably going to do that as well. I'm going to minimize this. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is pay attention over here. This is the project browser. So this is similar to what we were doing for our project with our floor plans, elevations, and sections. This is specific for the family editor. Okay, this is where we're making components. So if you want to make a chair or a window, this is where you do it. So in our case, we're making a handle. We don't want to be in a floor plan right now. We want to be in either a front view or a side-to-side view. That way we can extrude out our hardware. So I'm just going to do left for now. This is a left elevation. And let's do an extrusion. Okay, I click this. And I'm going to draw the profile of that shape we're looking at. Okay. The depth represents how far the extrusion will be. So that was a 3-inch handle. So I'm just going to type in 3 inches here. And this will tell me how far it's going to extrude out. All right. So I've got that. I'm going to draw an angle. Looked like it went probably an inch. So I clicked from the origin, drew out an inch. The thickness of the material, let's say it's 1/16 of an inch, looked pretty thin. I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to go here. Okay. Say overall, it has to clear the door panel, which sits right here, and then come forward for our finger pull. Let's say it's probably, say it's 1.5 inches. I'm going to type in 1.5. Okay, got that. And I'm going to offset this down 1/16. Okay, so pick lines, offset 1/16. Okay. Make sure you have the inch tick, and there we go. Okay. Trim this. Okay, so there was a circle at the end, right, of that finger pull. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Okay, I'm going to go right over here to the circle tool, and I could just draw out a circle. I'm going to move this in just a moment, but it looked like something like that. I grab this, and with my move tool, MV, I move it down. Okay. Bring this over, and this needs to be split. Okay, split element, and let's just trim the circle. So TR, click that, TR, click that. There you go. All right, let's hit check mark and 3D. There we go. So that is our finger pull. This is a pretty straightforward one. So as you can see, that's it. And this is ours. Okay. Pretty nifty. All right. So talking about the family editor, I want to show you guys how we can add our own parameters. Okay. So this is where we can really customize our hardware or any Revit family in general. So I'm going to switch to a front view. Okay. Click that. That way I'm looking directly at it. And I want to add a parameter that lets me control the width of this handle. That way I don't have to keep modeling different handles. Okay. So let's grab the measured tool. Make sure you're in front. Click this. Click right here and click over there. We'll place that right over there. Okay. And let's just click off. When I click this dimension, right, I clicked off and I click this, you'll see that there's something over here that says label none. Okay. So this is where we're going to add our own parameters. I'm going to click create parameter. And now it's going to ask for some information. The name of the parameter, we'll call it handle length. Okay. These are the same parameters that you see in the family editor when you're editing them. Like think about when we're changing the width or height of a door, there's the width parameter and the height parameter, or visibility parameter, like is the trim on, is the trim off? That is all here. Okay. And we're going to make this an instance parameter. That way each of them can have their own different dimensions. I'm going to hit OK. Right. And that text, the handle length, which I typed, it now represents this dimension. So if I have other objects in the project or the family that need to be presented by the same exact dimension, I can actually assign that. If I click this and that, right? This is 1 inch and 5/16. If I click this, I can actually click handle length and it'll change it for me because it knows it should be 3 inches, right? So it can be pretty powerful. So you can add parameters for the height or like the angle height or the depth. So you could do a parameter from here to there to control how far it sticks out, as well as from here to here for how long that leg is. So parameters, they're very complicated, but this is a very basic explanation of what's going on. And just keep in mind, they only appear in your orthographic views, okay? Meaning if I'm in 3D, you're not going to see it, but you will see it in front, okay? So I'm happy with this. I am going to just save this. I'm going to save as, save the family, and just save that somewhere on your hard drive. Handle. But before we import into the project, I do want to point out the parameter viewer. So right over here under modify, when you click this, this will show you all the different parameters. So this is a bird's eye view of all the different parameters in that one family. Okay, so if you ever need to edit something and you can't see the handle for it, it's right there. And that was this guy right there. So let's go into load into project. And now that is in our project right now. Doesn't really make sense right now looking at it in plan. So I'm just going to switch to 3D. And look at that. That is our handle right here. Okay, so it's coming. And when I click it, okay, you'll see right here, there is a handle length parameter. Okay, watch this. If I change it to 6 inches, enter, it's already made a new one. And if I copy this, okay, it's the same exact object, but because we made this an instance parameter, it has its own flexibility. So if you want, you can use 6 inches somewhere else, you can use 3 inches somewhere else, but it's the same exact component, right? This is the handle component. So this is the cool thing about parameters. You can have the same exact family in your scene, but tweaked. So each one is treated differently. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to add this onto our doors. So I'm going to delete that and click this guy. And I'm going to rotate him. I want to start placing him here. Okay, so let's grab rotate. You'll see my rotator looks a little odd. Okay, if I click and I do this, it's now going to try and go vertical and give me an error. Okay, so if that's happening, you should be going and setting your work plane. So set work plane. And I'm going to set it to be my level 1 or whatever your floor is. That way when you go to rotate this, see how it's rotating like this? I'm going to type in 90. There you go. All right, perfect. So from my diagram over here, this is the panel, right? So this is our 1/2 inch panel and this is our pull. This face, the inside face of the angle, is right behind our panel. Okay, so I'm going to go to my align tool, AL, and I'm going to try and find the carcass. It's this guy right there. I'm going to click that, and then I'm going to click that. Okay. So it might look a little off, but the reason is it's below our floor. So I'm just going to grab this and move it up a bit. Okay. And if I go to move it, you'll see it's just moving on that floor plan, right? So we need to pay attention to that. So I'm actually going to switch to my elevation view. Okay. And right now something's selected and we don't see it. It's because it's below our floor. So if you grab move, you click somewhere and move up, you'll see it. Okay. So the bottom portion of our handle is hidden because it's behind the panel, right? So I'm just going to move this up. Okay. And snap it right. Sorry, I grab the top and snap that down. Right. Perfect. Okay. That's looking good. So the issue is I don't know the exact midpoint of my panel and the midpoint of the handle, right? So if I use move, I want to try and find it. There we go. That's my midpoint right there. And I can see in the bottom left corner, it says midpoint of the handle. So that's good. Let's just make sure we're snapped onto the midpoint. There we go. That moved it over. So I need this handle, and it's up to you if you want in the middle versus on the side. Doesn't really matter. We need to apply that to all our other cabinets. So I'm going to copy this, and let's pretend like we want this handle to be on this side of the door. So the door will open, the hinge is here. We could put the handle on the side or in the middle. If we want on the side, I'm just going to hit a line and click that. So that's how you do that. If I want this to be wider, I'd go to handle length and change it to 6 inches. And make sure, there you go. So this is too wide now, so let's do a line, grab that and that. Okay, I'm gonna switch to 3D so you can see that. There you go, that's our finger pull. And good. And now let's add some here. Okay, I'm gonna go back to elevation A, and I'm gonna copy it up. Copy it up. So the issue with how this is oriented is our panel is facing the other direction, right? Because this was snapping on top. This is going to snap to the bottom. So we need to flip it. So I have this, and now I'm going to try rotating it. Okay. And then I'm going to try 180. Okay. Once I do that, I'm going to get this error. Can't rotate element into this position. So we need to fix this. So to do this, I'm going to either double click this handle or hop into my handle family, but I'll double click this. Okay. And we need to do a little fix. So in order to do this, we need to go to our modify tab right here. Perfect. And we want to go to family category and parameters. Okay. Make sure you uncheck always vertical and you have work plane based enabled. Okay. Once you have these two enabled, hit OK and just load into your project and overwrite as necessary. Okay. If for some reason your handles disappear, just switch between coarse and fine for a second. Okay, so let's click your handle. All right. At this point, you should see this guy right here. This will flip the work plane. Okay, so if we click that, it's going to flip our handle and it might throw it down here. So just keep an eye out for that. All right, so it's down here. And we see this is the finger pull area and this is where the door panel should go. So we should actually flip this. Let's grab the arrow. Let's grab the rotate tool, I mean. Type in 180 and flip it. All right, so this is looking better. Okay, we're going to grab this and we are going to align. Okay, so AL. Let's grab the bottom line of our frame there and click right there. So it'll shoot that door, it'll shoot that handle up. As you can see, it's kind of hidden still. So we just need to move it out. So I'm grabbing the move tool and I'm moving outwards. That way it sticks out. Okay. So we've got the height down. Now we need to align this face with the carcass. So let's go to AL. I'm going to click the carcass here. Okay, and click that. Okay. Once that's in place, let's switch over to our interior elevation. And there we go. It's right here. And we can continue copying this over. So that handles these two doors. And I'm going to copy these guys over. Okay, and let's switch over to 3D. So there we go. We've got a pull here, pull there, 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 and there. And if you ever change the design of these and you don't like this, you're just going to click it and select from a different handle. Okay, this is how we would change our walls or our doors. It's the same procedure. So this is loaded in, and you can just swap that out. If you ever need to tweak the design of this, like maybe make that a little bit thicker or make it come out a little bit longer, then you just edit the family. Okay, so this wraps up the kitchen.